Hello everyone, welcome to this session on AWS certification. Today in this session, I'll be guiding you through which certification you have to choose according to your profile. Alright, so without wasting any time, let's go ahead and start with this session with the first topic, which basically is why should you go for AWS certifications, or why should you go for any certification for that matter. So the first point is that you have better job prospects when you are basically, not only in AWS domain, but when you have better job prospects when you get certified. And the reason for that is, so AWS conducts, or any certification body, it basically conducts an exam and it sets a passing bar saying that if you pass this passing bar, only then you will get the certification, right? Having said that, now if I'm a company and I want to hire people who are basically experienced in AWS, one thing that I can do is I can probably search for resumes which have the AWS keyword in them, and then I can start interviewing them, right? But like, for example, if I hire people, I encounter so many people throughout the day who just write the technology like that in the resume, but they actually don't know it, right? So what would be the effective method for me to look for candidates who probably know AWS? Right? So for that, I can probably see which all people are basically certified in AWS. So when they're certified in AWS, obviously they would have passed that exam and only then they got that certification, right? And only the people who will be certified, if I just take their interviews, my interview process, it becomes a lot shorter. So from that perspective in mind, it is very important to basically to get certified, because most of the MNCs who are hiring for a particular technology, how do they get to know whether that candidate is suitable for that technology or not? The first thing that they check is whether that particular person is certified or not, right? So when you get certified in a particular technical profile, the chances of you getting interview becomes more. The second thing which happens is better career growth, right? For example, you are in your company, and in your company you basically your appraisal season is coming, and you want to show off the skills that you know apart from the work that you are already doing, right? So for again that, the best thing is to get certified and tell to your employer, you know what, I'm certified in this particular technology, and I think I'd be fit to handle the roles or handle the responsibilities which are related to this particular profile. Again, so certifications help you in better career growth, and they, let's say, if not in the same company, you want to switch. So again, the first point and the second point becomes valid, that if you get certified, you get better career growth because you get better job prospects. All right. Third point is that you stay up to date. Now, let's say you are in no mode of changing your job. You love your job, you love what you do, but in the IT domain, it's always very important to stay up to date. For example, I don't want anyone to get offended by this, but let's take the example of the time, let's say 2000s, when a Java developer was basically a guy who used to be a rock star in the IT domain, right? Somebody who knew Java in the year 2002, 2003, he used to be paid a lot higher than any other developer in the domain. But if you talk about Java developers today, they are paid a nominal pay. They are paid like anybody else. So so in the IT domain, with time, what happens is technologies change and the priorities of the companies also change, right? So it's very important to be up to date with all the relevant technologies which are hot in the industry at that particular time, because not only does it makes you more relevant for the company, it also helps you in getting a linear career growth over the years when you're working as an IT professional. So these three are the reasons why you should get certified, not only for AWS but for any kind of domain for that matter. Right? Now let's go ahead and talk about what is an AWS certification. Okay, so AWS certifications are basically exams which basically tell you that this particular person has cleared this particular certification, and he is proficient enough to do a job. Now obviously a certification does not guarantee you a job. You will have to sit for the interview, and you will have to answer all the questions that the interviewer asks, but the certification will basically help you till the point you get an interview. After you get an interview, you are face to face with the hiring manager. It's all your skills which are going to speak. Right now, why should you go for AWS certification and why not any other certification? Right, for example, if you guys are acquainted with what cloud is, you would know that there are a lot of cloud providers out there. So why should you go for AWS certification? Why not Azure certification, or why not Google Cloud certification? Now that's a very good question, and the answer to that is that AWS, Azure and Google Cloud, if you compare them with one another, AWS is the largest cloud provider in the market right now. Now what that means is that most of the companies, there are 100 companies who are using the cloud platform for their needs. 35 to 40 companies would be using AWS, 10 to 15 companies would be using Azure, and 5 to 6 companies would be using GCP, and the rest other lot which is left, they use some other cloud provider, but nobody crosses the mark of 5 or 6. Right, so if you compare this data, obviously the chances of getting job, or if you want to shift into the cloud domain, is more when you do an AWS certification. And probably after AWS certification, you can get certified in Azure as well, you can get certified in GCP as well. That is what people do, right? But if you're looking for a job in the cloud domain and you are wondering which certification to go to, or which certification to study for first, the obvious answer for that would be AWS, based on the statistics that I just told you. All right, having said that, now let's talk about the different certifications that AWS offers. Right, so now you've figured out, okay, so AWS certification is something that I should do, but which AWS certification to do? When you go to the AWS website, you will find a lot of certifications over there. All right, so which certification is for you? Let's go ahead and understand that. So there are basically various levels in the AWS certification. So basically, let's discuss these levels first, and then we'll get into the certifications which will basically help you. So the first level one is foundational level. What is foundational level? It is basically optional for you to basically attend it, right? And it depends on your interest. Now, a foundational certification can be for people who are in, who are computer admins, who, let's say, if you're a person who handles systems in a company, right, and you want to skill up and you still want to be in the same domain, foundational domain can help you out, because there are a lot of companies who are totally dependent on AWS for their day-to-day needs. So a foundational certification, what it will help you with is, you will have the working knowledge of what AWS is. But if you go by, your career growth, I don't think any company basically expects a foundational certification. Only when AWS would be a very small part of your job, only then company would expect you to know the foundational certifications. But mostly companies focus on the associate certification over here, which is level 2. Now, what is the associate certification? So if you want to appear for the associate certification, it's not mandatory to go through level 1. Okay, you can skip level 1, you can directly apply for level 2, and this is the associate certification. Now what an associate certification tells you is you are basically an intermediately skilled resource in terms of the AWS knowledge, or you are an intermediate AWS engineer who's working probably with AWS as well. Okay, so an associate certification is something which actually can fetch you a job of around 30 lakhs as well, and it can also fetch you a job of somewhere around 10 lakhs as well. Okay, now what is the difference between a job which will be of 10 lakhs and what is the difference between a job which will give you 30 lakhs? So a job which can give you 30 to 35 lakhs would basically be based on your experience. What is the varied kind of experience that you have under your belt, right? And your job will not be just limited to AWS, but a lot of other things. So if you get certified in AWS Associate, if you get certified in Azure Associate, and if you get certified in GCP Associate as well, then both of these three, right, would basically tell your employer, okay, so you're proficient in all the major cloud providers out there. Great. And what else do you know? So probably you could be a software developer, right, who is looking to manage a team, and probably that employer is looking for a CTO who would understand each and every technology that this company who wants to basically put their products on the cloud. This guy, the CTO guy, knows everything. If I have to shift to Azure tomorrow, this guy would know it. If I want to shift to GCP, this guy would know how to do it. Then at the same time, all the software development skills also this guy has. He also knows how to handle a technical team. So this particular thing can fetch you around 30 to 35 lakhs, right? What are the kind of jobs which basically offer 10 lakhs worth of a package? Would be jobs where you are basically, let's say you are getting into a cloud support role, right? Or let's say you become a cloud engineer. So all the starting salaries for a cloud support role or a cloud engineer start from 10 lakhs, right? And the prerequisite for attending these interviews, they're obviously the associate certification. So this is something that you have to do in case you want to enter into the cloud domain. The next level is the professional level certification. Now, what is the professional level certification? So professional level certifications can only be attempted once you have cleared the associate level. Okay. Now, with this, you automatically get an idea. So if I am a professional level candidate, I am basically expected to know in depth about each and every AWS service which is tested in the exam. Right? Now, what does that tell you? What does that tell to your employer? So if you are in what cases would you want to become a professional level certified? Would be in the cases where, let's say probably you are a CTO of your company, right? And now what you want to do is you want to understand AWS more, right? You understand AWS from the perspective of applying its services throughout your companies. But now let's say you want to go to the next step. You basically want to know AWS through and through, so that you can understand if there is any place that you can basically make your company more efficient using the products which are out there. Probably the professional certification would be the one with which you will get a more varied idea about all the things that you can do with AWS. Right? Sometimes what companies also do is they make it mandate. Okay, so we want highly trained professionals on AWS, and for that, if an associate certification guy is an intermediate guy, I don't need the intermediate guy. I need the best of the best people who are there in the AWS domain. So for that, people go ahead and get themselves certified in the professional certification. So it's basically like telling the employer that, if you're talking about AWS, I know what I'm talking about because I'm professional certified in the AWS domain. So that's what the professional certification speaks about. And finally, the last level that you have is a specialty level certification. Now, specialty does not cater to the length and breadth of what AWS is. There are 100 plus services in AWS. You don't have to know them all, right? Let's say you're a networking guy, you're a networking specialist, right? And you don't want to learn anything else. You basically want to make your career in networks only. So there are specialty certifications which basically focus on a set of services in AWS. It could be related to networking, it could be related to security, right? So all of you guys over there who are security professionals, who are networking professionals, if you don't want to change your domain yet, right, you can go ahead and get certified in the specialty certification, which basically will enable you to do all your networking and all your security work on the AWS domain. All right, so that's what the specialty certification is all about. Now, which certification should you choose? So you did not get your answer for that till now. Let's go ahead and let's clear that out as well. So guys, when we talk about the types of AWS certifications which are there, you have all these certifications. So the first certification that you have is the foundational certification. But like I said, this is an optional certification for you to do because most of the companies look out for the associate certifications in a candidate, right? But let's say you are from, like I said, in an admin kind of a profile, and you want to just tell your employer you know what AWS is, you know what it can do, then you can probably get certified in foundational certification, and that will get your job done, right? When you deep a little when you basically go a little more deeper into the AWS certifications, you will know that there are, when you talk about the associate certification, there are three kinds of associate certifications. The first one is the solutions architect certification. Then you have something called as a certified developer certification, and finally you have the sysops administrator certification. Okay, now what are these three certifications all about? So who should apply for a certified developer profile? So if you're already a developer, right, in your company, and you want to move into the cloud domain and you want to grow in your career, the first step for you could be that you go ahead and attempt this particular certification, which is the AWS certified developer certification. Right now, what will your role be once you do this certification? So right now, let's say you're developing applications on PHP, which has to be deployed on a particular server, let's say on AWS, or it could be anywhere. It could be a local your local environment as well, where you're deploying your web application, right? But when you get certified in the developer certification, what it will basically do to you is basically it will teach you how you can interact with AWS services using SDKs. Now what does that mean? Let's say I basically want to use the security service in AWS, which basically gives me refresh tokens every hour. Okay, and those tokens I basically use to authenticate my application or authenticate anything which I'm creating. Now there is a service in AWS which can do that for you, but in order to get those tokens, you'll have to hit the right API, right? And for hitting the right API, you will have to configure that API also, right? And then you will have to enable your application to talk to that API, which will require you to have the knowledge of the SDKs or the drivers which are required to be basically included in your code, so that you can make simple function calls to that service and get your desired value, right? So if you want to get into a domain which will, or if you want to get into to learn a particular certification or prepare for an exam which will basically teach you this, then you should go ahead and apply for the AWS certified developer profile, right? And the AWS certified developer profile obviously will be attempted by people who are already developers, right? And they're looking out to grow in their careers. The second kind of certification that you can do is the sysops administrator associate certification. Now, as the name suggests, it is for people who are already Linux or Windows admins, right? And they want to still pursue their career in administration, but they want to also learn AWS, right? So let's say you're applying for a company who have all their servers on the AWS platform, but they need people for its maintenance, right? They need people who can basically perform security patches on it, and they can probably upgrade the software as and when required. So for those kind of scenarios, what you do is you go ahead and get certified in the sysops administrator profile, and that will enable you to go ahead and give interviews for admin profiles which are looking to manage the systems on the AWS domain. Okay, then you have the certified solutions architect associate certification. This is the most important certification, and this is the most popular certification as well, right? And this certification is for any kind of background, and with that, what I mean is, I just clear it to you in a moment. Right now, the solutions architect certification, what it teaches you is the best practices to create architectures in AWS. Right now, it does not require you to have a particular background, because when it comes down to learning the best practices that anybody can learn if they have a basic IT idea as to how to work on computers. Right, so how you prepare for this exam is basically what will basically make the difference. For example, you might not know Linux, right? If you are a person who wants to shift into the cloud domain. So the first thing that you will have to do is learn Linux, right? The next thing that you would have to do, you have to see what Linux can do for you. And whatever Linux can do for you, the same thing you can apply on the AWS domain as well. Now, once you, let's say you get to know that how to create a web server, and it's pretty simple. The only thing that you have to do is you have to install a particular software and you have a web server up and running. Now, how to configure that web server, you don't have to learn that, right? You just need to have the knowledge about, let's say I want a 3-tiered architecture where I don't want my resources to have the internet access, and I want all the resources to be accessed via a load balancer. Now, this is an architectural requirement which is not at all requiring you to have any background knowledge, because let's say if we teach you guys how to prepare for AWS Solutions Architect certification, what we do is we teach you Linux, we teach you everything essential before you go onto the cloud platform, and then we teach you about all the services which are there in AWS. Now what that does is it not only makes you enter into a place where you now can probably do stuff with Linux. You will know how to create web servers, you will know how to copy files from one system to another system which is probably at the other side of the world using a simple command. So this is what Linux can do for you. Now once you're proficient in Linux, then what we do is we teach you about architectures. We teach you about all the different kind of architectures which exist out there, with the different kind of requirements which companies can have, and then we teach you all these requirements, how to basically do them on AWS, and that is what the Certified Solutions Architect will also test for you. Now you would say, okay, does that mean that I can become an architect once I'm done with the certification? No. So there are a lot of certifications out there. There are a lot of jobs out there, and all jobs basically are dependent on what kind of skill set you have, right? For example, there are profiles such as junior architects, which basically will be around 6 to 7 lakhs of package they can fetch you, and all they require from you to know is about the AWS course, AWS course, or let's say about the AWS certification, right? They expect you to know Linux, they expect you to know how to manage architectures, right? And that all thing a junior architect can do very well. And if you become a junior architect, you can fetch a package of around 6 to 7 lakhs, right? The second level comes where probably you are working in a company, right? And let's say you are from the banking domain. You know everything about banks. You know everything about how the processes in banks work. Now you get AWS certified. So now you will be able to suggest the banks as to how they can manage their infrastructure with AWS. Why? Because you have a thorough knowledge about all the banking processes, right? Now how to implement those processes on cloud, you can help them with that, right? So this is one kind of profile, and you cannot name this profile anything. But if you talk about the banking domain, this guy is probably the best guy to basically implement the architecture. Why? Because he has an experience in all the banking processes which are there, and at the same time now he can help in creating architectures because he has the AWS knowledge as well. So if you're from the healthcare domain, if you're from any other domain, right? Because the future is cloud, guys. So every company who is managing, let's say, their own servers right now, they're gonna move on to cloud in the coming future. Why? Because cloud is more cheap, and you don't have to basically manage hardware just because you want to host an application or something like that. Now, when that is the case, when you move to cloud, basically the cloud provider is managing all your infrastructure, so you don't worry about your hardware, you don't worry about anything going wrong. Why? Because the AWS people are there, they guarantee you that the hardware is going to be up all the time. All you have to do is manage the software on it, right? So you just have to handle or hire administrators which can probably go inside the server and understand if there's a particular software which is not running, or if there's a security threat which is there in the server, how to resolve that. And for that you have the sysops administrators. But how to deploy this architecture and how to get it up and ready with all the processes, which process will be suited for which kind of AWS service, is what is the job of an AWS certified solutions architect. right? That's why most of the people go ahead with the AWS certified solutions architect profile if they are not from a background which will basically help them to get into the cloud domain. All right. So once the associates are done, I already told you what professionals are all about, right? So if you want to go ahead and appear, you want to go ahead and showcase to your employers that you are not only an intermediate engineer, you are actually a professional or an expert level engineer in AWS, then you can go ahead and get certified in the professional certification for the AWS certified solutions architect. Similarly, you have the certified DevOps engineer. Now for this, the prerequisite is that you either have to be a developer or you have to be a SysOps administrator, right? So if you are either of the two, you can go ahead and attempt the AWS certified DevOps engineer profile, right? And what this will help you to do is basically, let's say you are a DevOps engineer in your company and somebody would be managing you above you, right? So if you want to become that manager, then I guess you're the right choice for you is to basically go down the path of getting yourself certified as a DevOps engineer, because DevOps is something which is actually being implemented in most of the software companies, because it not only makes your software releases faster, it also is very efficient in handling teams and to ensure that no time is wasted in communication. Okay, more on that you will understand if you're a DevOps background guy, but for this session I think people will know which certification to go for if I have given you this knowledge. Then you have the specialty certifications. So these are again certifications that are independent. There's no prerequisite for this. If you are from a security domain guy, right, you can go ahead and get yourself certified in the security domain. If you're a networking guy, you can get yourself certified in the networking domain. If you are from the big data background, you can get yourself certified in the big data specialty certification. Okay, so what's the next step now? The next step is so if you're convinced you want to move to the cloud domain, the next step for you would be to prepare for these exams. Now, how can you prepare for these exams? Now, honestly, guys, there are a lot of documentations out there. The internet is filled with all the resources. If you go through those resources, you should be able to prepare. Right now, what is the problem? Why are not? Then in that case, everyone should get certified in AWS, right? Why are people not getting certified in this? The reason for that is you have to invest a lot of time of yours, and you actually have to learn a lot of things. Right, and it gets difficult to do all this when you're basically doing your 9-to-5 job as well, right? And that is where our company, our Intellipaat company comes in, wherein we guarantee you that if you go through our courses, you will get certified. We will train you that way, right? Given you follow what we give you and you are thorough in whatever we are teaching, we guarantee you that you're gonna get yourself certified. Now, how does that help when you are doing a 9-to-5 job? So we basically know as professionals that you don't get the time or the energy after your office to learn something new. So that's why all our sessions are basically planned on the weekend. Second thing is you need the right guidance. So what we do is all our trainers are already certified and are working as architects, as developers, as administrators in the industry, and according to their experience, we pick them up for a certification, and they are the people who are going to teach you. Right? So if you're worried about who's teaching you, are you getting the right guidance or not, don't worry about that, because all those people who are going to teach you are already certified in that domain. Okay? So this is how Intellipaat helps you. And how does that solve the time problem? All our sessions are conducted on weekends. So on weekends, most of us have offs, and the timing with the time that we conduct our sessions are all around 8:30 or 8 o'clock, right? So you can log into that time and you can attend those sessions, not worrying about your work, not worrying about is there anything else that I have to study, is this all that I have to know? Yes, or everything which is taught in the session. You don't have to research anything from the outside to get yourself certified, right? So that will not only save time of yours, because if you study on your own, from my personal experience, since I studied on my own, it took me around 4 months to basically get up to a point where I can attempt the AWS exam. Now I was very thorough in it. I had to be very disciplined in order to study, because I was also having my own job which I had to basically go every day to, right? So if being thorough or being uh, very consecutive in what you have to do is a problem, that's where training companies comes in, and that's how they help you. So let me just take you through the courses that we offer. So let me just quickly switch to my browser and let me show you our website. So this is our website, guys, intellipaat.com, right? You can just go with here, and once you reach there, we basically have a lot of courses. We don't only teach on cloud, we are actually teaching on a lot of technologies, right? For example, data science, we teach AI, we teach Azure, we teach GCP, we teach big data. There are a lot of things that we teach, right? Now all you have to do over here is search for AWS and hit enter. And once you have hit enter, it will list all the AWS courses that we offer, right? So we offer courses for solutions architect, we offer courses for AWS DevOps, we offer courses for developer, we also offer courses for sysops, right? Now if you're a guy who wants to go for the solutions architect certification training or solutions architect certification, you should go for this course. If you are a developer who wants to pursue his domain in the development domain only, you can go for the AWS developer training. Or if you are a sysops guy, an admin guy, and you want to go ahead and basically get certified in it and are looking for a training, this is the right course for you. Okay, now which course to choose for? I told you it's according to the certification. Which certifications to choose, I've already told you, it's based on your profile, right? Now for all the people who are watching this on YouTube, we have a special offer for you. You'll get a flat 30% off on whatever the price is visible on the website. So all you have to do is enter the promo code YouTube30, and that should do well for you. You will get a flat 30% off on it, and it's only for the people who are watching it on YouTube. All right, so with that, guys, I think this is the thing that I wanted to talk about today, right? So I thank you all for attending this session, right? If you have any questions, you can always call us on these numbers available on the screen, or you can also mail us on sales@intellipaat.com, and we'll get back to you promptly. Okay, if you want any advice with respect to what you have done, if you are still not sure after this session, you can again call us, and our course advisors will help you out in taking a decision. So with that said, guys, I thank you all for joining today. Have a great day ahead and have a great weekend.